So I have made a LeBron James versus Michael Jordan comparison video in the past, and I wasn't sure if I was going to make one again. Didn't really have a reason to. Until I stumbled across this comment on a post about the two. So recently, or I say like recently, it was probably a month or two ago. Can't exactly remember when. But voting for various NBA awards, happened. And there's a lot of just this silly stuff that like players voted for. What coach would you like to be coached under? Who's like the worst coach? Who's most overrated? But there was one about LeBron and MJ, and it said that NBA players, a higher percentage of NBA players believe Michael Jordan is the greatest of all time over LeBron. And of course, there was debates. The MJ fans were like, you see, they know what's up, and LeBron fans were like, they're stupid. Just a typical back and forth. But there's just one comment. This one comment that was so brain dead, such a brain dead take. I can't just let this go by. So there's someone commented comparing the superstars that LeBron James had to face in the finals compared to the superstars Michael Jordan had to face in the finals. And of course, LeBron's record in the finals. Not great. The guy went to a bunch, lost a bunch, lost more than he won, let's just say. And Michael Jordan never lost.
Never lost!
And of course, people bring that up. I used to bring that up, but I don't anymore. I don't think that's really the biggest, like the X factor in what makes the greatest of all time. I will say it's kind of works for an argument, but there are much better arguments to be made, such as the one that I made in an old video of mine. But here it is. It's comparing all the competition, all the superstars that LeBron had compared to Jordan in the finals. And this is such a brain dead take because it shows all the LeBron superstars and then all the MJ superstars, and it seems to make it look like LeBron's had better and more competition compared to Jordan, but it's not entirely true. Like it seems to the guy seems to be saying that Jordan's competition wasn't tough or wasn't good. Yeah, he names a bunch of Hall of Famers on his list. So, I mean, and putting emojis next to him like that validates an argument when all these guys are legendary players who are known to be really freaking good. Guys who are known to be in the Hall of Fame. So a lot of these guys won MVP. We'll get into that in a minute. I will say, I don't know if this guy's being genuine or if he's like trolling. Problem is, as bad as LeBron James' Glazers are, yeah, I used the word Glazers unironically. As bad as they are, they've looked at this as a legitimate argument. So I'm inclined to believe that this guy's being serious. Enough talking, let's get into the LeBron and MJ competition. So when it comes to LeBron James' competition, I would put Michael Jordan over LeBron James personally, but I'm not going to just say that LeBron didn't have any competition. No, I'm not going to say. I think he did have some tough competition. That goes without saying. But so did MJ. I'm just not, blinded by my love for one person compared to another. It's not that I even love one over the other. I just think that Michael Jordan is just better, because I could be delusional. Trust me. I think Keldon Johnson is better than LeBron James. That's how delusional I can be.
Huh?
But anyways, let's get into this. So when it comes to LeBron James' competition, in 2011, Dirk Nowitzki. You could call that valid, but that was when Miami had that big three of LeBron James, Chris Bosh, and Andy Wade. Some of them may have not been in their primes, but they were still all-stars. They were still a threat. They swept the OKC Thunder the year after this. Made the finals. Dirk destroyed them. But Dirk was the only guy on his team. LeBron James was getting locked up by freaking JJ Barea. I want to say Jason Kidd was on that team, but that was like almost retired Jason Kidd. Either way, Dirk was a one-man team. Miami had a big three. I mean, come on, you're gonna let this tall German man destroy what is known as a legendary big three team? A team who gets all their jerseys retired by the team. I mean, you're supposed to win a bunch of championships. I mean, you even said not one, not two, not three, yada, yada, yada. You got destroyed by Dirk Nowitzki. Just Dirk. The guy is not even... no hate towards Dirk, I will say. I am a Dirk fan. Dirk is a legend. The dude's not even really in a top 10 conversation. You can make an argument for him, but he's never in a top 10 conversation. And he beat you. Anyways, 2012, they swept the Thunder.
Are you sure about that?
And you can use you can say, they had KD, they had James Harden, they had Russell Westbrook. Yeah, these were like guys who were years before their prime. Russ wouldn't win MVP till like 4 years later. James Harden wouldn't win MVP until what, like 5 years later. It's like these were guys. Now obviously they had a little bit of experience, not a whole lot. KD probably had the most experience in the league at that point. James Harden was a six man. Take James Harden out of the equation. Like, you beat Russ in his 4th year and KD in his 5th. You know how long it took LeBron to even make the finals? Longer than that. And again, James Harden was a six man. So hard to make that argument. And then you had prime LeBron. You had your legendary big three that lost to Dirk the year before. So I mean, it's not that crazy that you won. 2013, another year LeBron won. You know, they played the Spurs, and they won. The Spurs had, of course, there's Manu, they had Duncan, they had Parker, and they had Kawhi. Context is very much needed for that, because that was Manu at 35 years old, Tim Duncan at 36, Tony Parker at 30, which I guess is not that crazy. And Kawhi was only in his 2nd year. Dude wasn't an all-star. Dude was in his sophomore year. He didn't even put up that great of stats. So yeah, bunch of old guys in his 2nd year Kawhi. I think 1 or 2 of them might have been all-stars that year. I'll have to look it up post-production, or you'll see on the screen. And even then, I think they took him to what, 5 or 6 games? So they definitely gave you run for your money. 2014, lost to Spurs in 5. The Spurs won in less games. And I tell you, as a Spurs fan, some of the best basketball I've ever seen, not even being biased. But sort of the same argument, you know, they had Parker, Duncan, Kawhi, and Manu. The Spurs only had 1 All-Star that year. They just had Tony Parker. Tim Duncan wasn't an All-Star. Kawhi Leonard wasn't an All-Star. And Manu Ginobili wasn't an All-Star. It's kind of even worse for LeBron because Duncan was 37 at this point. Manu was 36. Like, everyone was already older. So how do you lose to a team of old dudes? And they weren't even all the old players. They also had other older players on the team. And again, yeah, Kawhi won Finals MVP, but he wasn't an All-Star. He wasn't Kawhi now. This is kind of how he got his name out there. This was what got his name out there, is beating the big three of Miami. So that's not exactly super valid. And then from 2015 to 2017, I will admit LeBron, you know, has some competition with the Warriors. But it's not like LeBron didn't have help, right? That 2016 Cavs team, people act like LeBron carried a team of bums. No, he had good teammates. He had Kyrie Irving. He did have Kevin Love. That was not like prime Kevin Love, like from the Timberwolves, but it was, look at the stats. Kevin Love was still a good player. You could still consider that a big 3 or a big like 2.5. I don't know. Kevin Love was still putting up good numbers. Kyrie was putting up great numbers. Kyrie made that shot that saved the career of LeBron James. Just saying. But yeah, I mean, he had help. And then in 2020, of course, you had the bubble ring. He played a young Celtics team, so that's his competition. And again, I'm not going to discredit anyone. Like I said, LeBron's competition against like the Warriors, pretty stacked. But again, he still had help. Now let's get into MJ's competition. Now this is a guy this guy belittled MJ's competition. Now I'm not saying that LeBron's competition isn't bad, like isn't good, because his competition is clearly good. I'm just saying, like, if you're gonna criticize competition, just saying LeBron's competition isn't beyond criticism. Like, there are things you can pick apart and be like, well, this is why they lost, because of this guy. So anyways, getting into MJ's competition in the finals, the dude made it sound like his competition was just not good. It's a bunch of bums in the finals that he faced. Let me tell you something about that. All these guys were all-stars. Every guy I'm naming, it was an all-star when they played. So in 1991, Magic Johnson and the Lakers. Magic Johnson was finished second in the MVP race. Bro called him washed. Dude still had a good few years in him. He came second in the MVP race. And then James Worthy. James Worthy's a legend. Don't disrespect him. Probably an all-star. Maybe, I don't know. Clyde Drexler in 1992. Clyde Drexler also finished second in the MVP race. It's funny that the way this dude comments is it's like when he has nothing to say, he just puts like a skull emoji or a laugh emoji like it's hilarious. Clyde Drexler is a legend. He finished second in the MVP race. The thing is, you can't just be top 3 in the MVP race and be a bum or not be good competition. So yeah, Clyde second MVP race. 1993, Charles Barkley won MVP. Dude was the best player in the league at that time. Again, that's good competition. You can't laugh about that. Yeah, Chuck is a goofball now. He's hilarious. That's great and all. But Chuck, when he actually played, was a bad man. Dude was solid. Again, he won MVP. 1996, Gary Payton and Shawn Kemp. 2 great legendary players, both all-stars. Gary Payton won Defensive Player of the Year, and Sean Kemp was on the Sean Kemp was an All-Star and made All-NBA second team. So clearly two, top players in the league. 1997, you had Stockton and Karl Malone. John Stockton made NBA third team and was an All-Star. Again, a top player in the league. Karl Malone won MVP. Again, another MVP as competition. Probably finished as the best player in the league. We don't really talk about Karl Malone because of, the incident. But he was still MVP that year. Solid competition. And then in 98, once again, it was Karl Malone. Karl Malone, he said, the guy said, old washed up Karl Malone. Karl Malone finished second in the MVP race. Dude was not washed. Again, he still had a good few years in him. Still an All-Star. Still won second. Still got second in the MVP race. I say all that to say, there was competition on both sides. You can make criticisms on both sides, totally fine. But to act like MJ didn't have competition just because you don't take him seriously, just because you think it's a joke, it's weird. These kids. Oh gosh, I feel like I sound like a boomer. In the least boomer way possible, these kids nowadays, they really only see now's players as the best players, never anyone in the past, which is super silly. Because you can pull any player from the past, put them against a lot of competition today, and they would just because you don't think that these guys were good, just because some 20-year-old guys we're done with the 90s or some other garbage and downplays certain players doesn't mean it's legit. That's that TikTok ball knowledge people complain about. These guys are legends for a reason. They're in the Hall of Fame for a reason. They have the accolades and the reputation they have for a reason. MJ's competition was still competition. It was still solid competition. LeBron has solid competition. You could say similar things about his competitors. But at the end of the day, what happened happened. Don't downplay people's competitions when they're clearly good.